Hello everybody, this is City Scrapper. Thank you so much for joining me on my channel today for day 29 of Christy's Beautiful Life, 30 Days of Sketches, and Scraptember. I cannot believe it's day 29 already. I can't believe the month is almost over. Today's sketch is in the upper left-hand corner, and the Scraptember prompt for today is Mixed Alphas. For this layout, I'm using 3 photos in a long strip, just like you see in the sketch. I must have moved the base of the camera stand, so part of the video was on a diagonal, so I just cut some of it out. You could see that I just mirrored the sketch in that I have a long strip on the right and then 2 blocks on the left. So now we're straight again, and I'm going to do some embossing. I'm using this Vicki Boutin stamp. This is from one of her stamp and die sets. Her sets aren't marked with the collection that they're from, but I know that this is from several years ago, quite a few years ago actually, so it's not one of her more recent stamp sets. I use my whole grungy embossing pad, and I use some white embossing powder, and I stamped some of these branches, and I embossed with white embossing powder. And the collection that I'm using is a Recollections pad called Mixed Media. This pad came out a couple of years ago, and I used so much of it. And when I went back to Michael's, hoping to find another one, they didn't have any left in the Michael's near my house. So I went to another Michael's, and I could not find another one. I was digging through the stacks of paper pads. They used to have a lot more than I've been seeing recently. And I finally found one, and it was really, really buried. So that's probably why nobody bought it. But I was so excited, and I just really love this pad. I love these distressed looking papers. And you could see in the peach paper or the salmon paper that's on the lower left-hand side of the layout, or is going to be on the lower left-hand side of the layout, I'm attaching it down now, there's some beautiful gold foiling. So this pad is definitely one of my favorites. I'm using some ATG adhesive, and I'm attaching those 3 blocks of paper down to a black piece of cardstock. Earlier I distressed the edges, and then I inked them with some Distress Oxide in black soot. And now I'm distressing the edges a little bit more with my fingers. I think this is the best way if you want the pages to look very rough and tattered. I use my scissors to help me out a little bit with the distressing. My goal is for the distressing to look as natural as possible, and I have to really concentrate on that, because if I don't concentrate, I tend to make bends at regular intervals, and I want it to look a little bit more random. I mounted my photos off camera. All 3 photos are first mounted on some white cardstock. Then I have a very small border of black behind that. And then I mounted all 3 photos on one strip of pattern paper from that Recollections Mixed Media collection. And now I'm using some fun foam, and I'm popping up the whole strip. I attach that down with some ATG adhesive, and I place it in the same spot on the layout that it was on the sketch. I went through the pad and I fussy cut out a whole bunch of shapes. A lot of the shapes are very large, so this layout kind of takes on a different look than a lot of the other layouts that I've made, and I think that's what's great about 30 Days of Sketches. It really prompts you to try different things and to work in a way that you wouldn't normally work. There are large flowers, and there are some really, really large butterflies, and so I thought I would try using those on the layout. And I follow along with the sketch for the most part. I'm tucking the large embellishments on either side of the strip of photos. I have that really, really large flower on the left, and then I have some leaves on top of it, and then another flower on the right that is slightly lower, and then I have the 3 butterflies positioned in a triangle on the page. I also fussy cut some leaves from the pattern papers, and I'm tucking those in now. I tuck them in on both sides of the layout, mainly on the left and a couple on the right as well. I have a lot more room on the left, of course, so I'm able to fit a lot more there. I ink the edge of the butterfly with some Distress Oxide, and now I'm just attaching everything down and arranging it the way that I like it. I don't use any embellishments on this page. I only use the pattern papers, and then I'm also going to use the leaves that I embossed earlier. Before I add those leaves to the layout though, I decided that I would add my title. So I'm using some titles that are from a Momenta puffy sticker sheet, and I used two different sizes. Happy is in a smaller font and Together is in a larger font, and I hope that that satisfies the Scraptember prompt of mixed alphas. They probably meant to use two different kinds of letters, but I'm going to use two different size letters, so hopefully that will meet the prompt. Now I'm adding some splatters to the background. I'm adding some black splatters right now, and I also add some white splatters, and the splatters are watered down acrylic paint. And I love the way splatters just add a little bit of randomness to the page. I don't like big, huge splatters. I usually use smaller splatters, especially when I haven't used a mixed media background. So I'm just adding a few splatters. I don't go overboard like I usually do when there's a lot of paint on the background. I got a big splatter of black paint on the word happy, so I thought, oh, no big deal. I took it off the background and I wiped it off, but the black paint never came off of it 100%. I thought that because it was made of plastic that it would be easy to just wash or wipe the paint away, but it didn't come off even after I washed it in the sink. So it came off enough that I felt that I could still use the word happy on the layout, but I could still see it a little bit. So now I know to be a little bit more careful with the splatters. I want to add some highlights to some of the elements on the background, mainly the butterflies and the leaves. So I use this jelly roll pen and I add some white lines to the edges of the leaves and to some of the areas on the butterflies. I like using the jelly roll pen, but I wish it was a little bit whiter. Sometimes putting a couple of coats of that can help. As I was adding those lines to the layout, I was thinking that I didn't want these two butterflies that are exactly the same to be at the same angle, so I changed the angle of the one on the right. I fussy cut out all of those branches that I embossed earlier, and now I'm adding them to the layout. The colors of the layout are pretty dark, so I feel that that really helps these white leaves to stand out a lot. So I'm glad that I made them in white. And I'm spreading them around the page, tucking them behind the flowers and behind the strip of photos as well. And surprisingly on this layout, I decided really quickly where I wanted those leaves. Usually I'm changing them and trying them in all different places, but I felt pretty confident that this was the arrangement that I wanted, so I got out my gel glue and I glued them all down. And in addition to contrasting with the dark background, I think they also blend really well with the flowers because the flowers have a lot of white lines on them. Really like those branches. So now I'm adding some photo corners to the strip of photos. I'm just going to add 2 photo corners to the top photo on the top and 2 photo corners to the bottom photo on the bottom. And I'm inking the edges of those as well. I used an EK Success Photo Corner punch, that's the scalloped punch, and I just used a piece of pattern paper that was from the paper pad. And I used ATG adhesive to attach those down. When I started this layout, I really wasn't sure what pictures I was going to use. I always have trouble finding smaller photos. I have all of my photos printed in 4 by 6 inch prints, and so sometimes it's hard to find pictures I can cut down small enough that they would be this small size. And since it was my birthday, I could have used birthday themed papers, but I really like this layout for these photos because the restaurant that we went to had the vibe of this layout, if that makes any sense. It's hard to explain, but the mood of the restaurant goes with the mood of this layout. I added some small details down at the bottom. I added a very small butterfly, and I added 2 very, very tiny flowers to the title. One extremely small flower is on the word happy, and then there's another small one on the word together. That one's a little bit bigger, and I used the tiniest of pearls, and I made a line down the center of the butterfly, and I put a very small pearl in the center of both of those flowers. The flowers are puffy stickers from that title sheet, and the butterfly was fussy cut from one of the papers. Earlier I had mentioned that I wish that the white ink from the jelly roll pen looked a little whiter. I decided I wanted to lighten up those lines a little bit more. So I'm using a product that I purchased rather recently. I got this on Amazon. This is Dr. P.H. Martin's Bleed Proof White, and it's perfect for this particular purpose. The lines come out really white and you don't really need more than one coat. So I use this very thin paintbrush and I put lines on a number of the leaves and on the butterflies. And then I thought that I would use the paint to try to paint this word happy white, and it didn't really work out too well. I don't know what's up with this particular plastic, but I couldn't get the black paint off and I couldn't get the white paint to stick. So in the end, I was able to get all the white paint off and I just left it gray, the original color that it was. So far, other than the title, everything on the layout is made of paper, and I wanted to add another element. So I add some of these self-adhesive pearls. I love the way this sheet of pearls has pearls in a lot of different sizes. They go from small to super duper small, and so I'm just spreading some of the pearls around the layout in a couple of the different sizes. Sometimes I will go back in with some glue after I've put the pearls on the page, and I'll put a little bit of glue at the base of each of the pearls. Usually the pearls stay stuck to the page, but every once in a while I find that they have fallen off. So just as a little insurance, I'll add a little bit of glue, and hopefully in the long run that will help all the pearls stay on the pages. I realized that I had a few leaves that weren't attached down, so I added some glue to those, and that completes the layout. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. I really hope that you enjoyed watching this video. I'm really enjoying making these layouts and making these videos this month. I hope that you'll take a look in the description box. There are links to all the other scrapbookers who are following along with 30 Days of Sketches and Scraptember. This is day 29. We have one more day, and I'll be back again tomorrow for the last day. I hope everybody has a great day, and I'll see you soon. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.